The Greece migrant boat disaster came less than a week ahead of World Refugee Day.
Tuesday is the 72nd anniversary of the signing of the United Nations Refugee Convention in the year 1951. Last year, the number of refugees globally surged past 35 million, rising by 8 million over 12 months. More than half of those come from 3 countries: Syria, Ukraine and Afghanistan.
Matthew Saltmarsh is from the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Thanks for coming on the programme. It does seem extraordinary, though, to be marking Refugee Day every year, year on year, with seemingly no prospect of the world solving the refugee crisis.
That's right. I mean, World Refugee Day is a time when we really reflect on the plight of refugees, but also when we think about the contributions that refugees make to society and the amazing support that is given to refugees around the world, whether that's in less well-resourced countries or whether it's in richer countries. But behind that, as you mentioned, the figures are rising, and they have been rising for more than a decade. So that also tells us that we have a major problem with forced displacement in the world, and that the international community is not doing enough to address those problems right now.
So what could the UN do more? I mean, is the United Nations now simply a reactive organisation?
Well, of course, there's humanitarian assistance, and ourselves and other partners within the UN do a lot of that. We're doing that with Sudan now. There was a pledging conference yesterday that raised 1.5 billion in funds that are urgently needed to support those people who have fled Sudan or those who are trapped inside Sudan. So there is that aspect. But of course, we also try to look further ahead and try to find solutions for refugees. And later this year, we have a big event in Geneva called the Global Refugee Forum, and that will bring together a number of different actors, including governments, UN, refugees themselves, but also private sector, civil society and other organizations. And what we're hoping from that is that all these different groups can come together and try to find solutions for refugees. Maybe not a global solution for refugees, but solutions in different parts of the world that can help refugees to rebuild their lives or to find safe passage to places where, they can rebuild their lives in safety and dignity.
So you're bringing all the stakeholders together there. But, there is a bit of an irony here, isn't there, Matthew, about Europe's so-called migrant crisis? Because there are refugees who are dying just on their way to Europe, but the continent has really deep labour shortages in so many different sectors.
Yeah, I mean, in Europe, it's a complicated picture. Let's not forget that just last year there was a huge open-door policy towards Ukrainian refugees. Many millions of them are now hosted across Europe. They were given a warm welcome. They were given access to services, to schools, to health, to education, to labour markets. And that really is a very, very positive model. And that's also been replicated in other parts of the world, in parts of Africa, in Kenya, for example, but also in parts of Latin America, in Colombia. So that's a very positive thing. On the other hand, of course, there is an issue. We have a lot of people who are moving in what we call mixed flows, so migrants are moving with refugees and asylum seekers, and particularly acute in Africa, where it's extremely dangerous, the journeys that they're taking. And of course, just recently, we've seen that can end in tragic results, as it did with the boat that went down just off Greece.
Matthew Saltmarsh from the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, thank you very much.